I'm the creative director, so my job is to oversee the entire game's game design, art style, the fiction and lore, and all the bells and whistle that kind of makes up what is Nexus, pretty much. We definitely know that games, especially with Halo coming out in 2001 on Xbox, it kind of Halo in its early days was really fast, like Quake style and everything like that too, and they turned down the speed because they were just like, this just doesn't work on the controllers. And what happened, I think, was Halo got so fast that got so popular, and everyone was like, well, why is Halo so popular? And of course, in the game industry, there's a trend of, hey, this game's popular because of A, B, B, B. Like they try to break down some sort of formula and recipe from a game, so people just kind of start copying that. And on a console FPS, it just kind of became like the standard of, if you want to make an FPS, you got to make it like this because Halo proves sales. Things like that. So I can totally understand from a business standpoint why that decision was made, but it just seems like no one really too often tried to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, how can we make a game that is fast paced? Yeah, one of the on the dynamic mutator specifically, with the silliness side of it. The main reason why, well, there's two reasons why we did it that way. One, the big one was we had to make 100 of them. And we're only a small team. At the time, at our peak, we were like 11 people or 12 people, and we were like, we got to make 100 of these things. How are we going to do it? So we were just kind of throwing ideas at the wall like crazy, and it just started turning into, okay, well, let's throw an idea at the wall, and how can we turn this idea into something that actually affects gameplay and actually something that's useful, but also how can we deliver to the player in a way where there's 100 of them, and each one's got to be so unique and that the point when a player sees it, they're like, oh, I know exactly what that is. So when you kind of take a silly approach to it, it allows you to like kind of just explore a lot more options with delivering a message to the player of what's actually going on. Like, some of the this kind of silly mutators, like icons, like kill the whales, the big silly looking whale, or I don't know, magnetism's a giant magnet, right? Like the picture, the icon of them even is, it's just that kind of approach to us allows us to kind of just deliver the message really, quickly and effectively to the player, as well as it brings it out of the game, kind of like almost like, hey, yeah, here's this serious game with the Cavasar, the Vercillions, and all this like CryEngine 3, like beautiful graphics, and then this layer on top is almost something, it keeps them separate so that, hey, mutators are something completely different for me to focus on as well as the underlying game. Because I'm actually, 5-year-old boy, I think Farty Poopy is my favorite because it's just it's all the guns. They just make fart noises when you shoot all the weapons. That's what we call a WTF mutator, which are actually unlocked through achievements. There's 12 achievements in the game, and if you every time you unlock an achievement, we allow you to unlock these other like mutators. They're not all ridiculously useless like Farty Poopy. Even in the same sense, if you think about it like strategically, like um, I will always be running around and I can think about, what are the gunshots I'm hearing and who has guns around me. But now all of a sudden, Party Poopy comes in and you can't tell who's shooting what other than the explosions happening. So it kind of does, but not, not too lightly, just change it a little bit. But like Kill the Whale and Rainbow are in the WTF mutators, and Kill the Whale is the biggest point maker in the entire game. So it's very important, and it's really expensive to adjust in the mutator store. You're not like having a difficult time constantly trying to aim. There definitely is a learning curve. We're not going to lie about that, but where we make it open enough to where I think within 5 or 10 games, most players, generally we start to get the hang of it and are able to move themselves around. We are actually kind of looking to stay away from players, similar to how you would in like Halo and stuff. Now, also, like you see a player, unless if you get close to him, melee is probably going to happen, so you want to stay away from them. It's more similar to how like Painkiller does it, where it's all the strategy involved is holding jump and moving forward. If you start turning or you do a 180-degree flip, you'll lose all your velocity. The other Quake, like bunny hopping specifically, and the Quake strafe jumping, those are like combinations you have to do with input and the keyboard in the game. And To me personally, I just think that's kind of it's unnecessary. Those things were there, and there were exploits in the engine, and there were exploits in the game. And people kind of picked up on them and like, hey, this is something. But it's like, you players shouldn't have to like go out of the way to learn a technique in a game, like physically playing a control to be able to be better than another player. What really matters is aiming, shooting, knowing the weapons, knowing the maps, and knowing the mutators and Nexus, not who can press the combination of buttons. Rocket jumping, for example, on consoles, even though we did put in a button that you can customize controls with, and it looks down and looks straight ahead. You still kind of have to finesse it a little bit. You have to jump, press rocket jump, and then press fire, like all in like a combo. So there is a little bit of input skill still required on consoles. Of course, on PC, you just have to look down and jump and fire. We do have a mode plan coming that's hopefully here on the horizon post launch. That's called Mutator Options, which is a menu where you're able to turn on and off specific mutators from showing up, or the ability to always have a mutator on. So, like, if you want to play a match the entire time using jetpacks, you can turn on jetpacks completely, or insta-gib all the time. So that's going to be one of those options that really can help out. We do have 100 dynamic mutators. They're split up into 4 categories: yourself, everyone, your team, or against the enemy team. And they change the gameplay drastically. Using a modified Quake 1 engine wasn't, providing the results we wanted, as far as like creating like a really good looking game that can, really compete on today's market and kind of draw gamers towards it with like nice visuals and everything like that. And we were just like, well, let's see what we can do. And we reached out at GDC 2010, and we were able to get a license to CryEngine 3. And then when that happened, we were just like, all right, well, let's release it on 360 as well, because you can kind of already port straight to it. So we were like, okay, 360 and PS3 releasing the game, and then of course came along, people were just started saying we were releasing on PC also. So we're just like, all right, well, we're releasing on PC now too, and which we're kind of glad we made those decisions to release on all 3 platforms, because it's been really fun learning all the ins and outs. And we're hoping to do we don't have confirmation at this time, but we're hoping to do a level editor on PC. And if that opens, we might even do some stuff where we look at the community, and if people make custom maps and everyone says this map's awesome, there's always a potential to say, well, we can maybe make that map official as well. But that's probably a little bit further down the road. Well, we definitely do want to continue support and growing Nexus. We have plans in place for a DLC package, and kind of we want to do more modes and things like that. So it kind of just all depends on what happens over the next few months. But regardless, we are going to support the game. Post launch as much as possible. We're going to have a live team set up, and they're going to be cranking away new content, new DLC packs. As far as IllFonic, we got another game on the horizon called Ghetto Golf. We're going to start soon. So that's kind of where we want to go. We want to branch out into as many directions as possible as a company. And, that's kind of our next step. This Arena FPS is kind of, it's at home for a lot of us. I started, getting involved with video games when I was a kid, making levels for Quake 1. So it's definitely kind of the roots for us as a studio. Well, so if we're releasing on 360 on February 29th, then we have the PS3 and PC unannounced yet. But as far as us being satisfied with sales, it could be anywhere from 250 to 300, which we feel 300,000, which we feel we can easily achieve that between all 3 platforms. We definitely think we know and understand that with console gamers, a lot of them are kind of skeptical with an Arena FPS games. So we understand the kind of risk in that, but we feel like we made a compelling enough game, and a game that's solid enough and really fun on console still. You have a blast every time you play it.